Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. The release of the Panama Papers has created quite a stir around the world. These papers concern offshore financial transactions. Jamaica has for some time been making valiant efforts to develop the country as an international financial center. What does the release of these papers say about these attempts? Will Jamaica's attempts be stymied now that there is so much attention on offshore financial companies? Well, we have one of the country's leading tax experts with us to discuss this. Eric Crawford is the chairman of the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority. And he has been studying this matter of international financial centers, offshore transactions for a number of years, and has been a leading advocate of our attracting financial services. So we put the relevant issues to him. We thank you for your company. Good to have you, Eric.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
For so many years, your name has been synonymous with this thrust toward having Jamaica as a center for financial services. We will talk about the country's advantages in that area. But before that, the Panama Papers, the release of these papers, over 11.5 million documents linking the names of famous people to shell companies with illegal transactions. Not all the transactions, of course, are illegal. Assess the impact of that for us, especially with our attempts.
Yes, well, naturally, it brings the focus of illegal activity, on illegal activity, and the use to which companies like these are put. It's very important for us to appreciate that there are many legitimate reasons why people establish what we call offshore companies outside of their own jurisdictions. They are used extensively by multinational businesses, wealthy families, funds, investment vehicles, and so on. And there are many legitimate reasons why they are maintained. I have been engaged for a very long time in assisting with the planning and structuring of international businesses. And I can say proudly that I have never participated in any scheme to do anything illegal.
Yes.
The question of morality, is always subjective. What one thinks is immoral may not be. And this is not a new phenomenon. In fact, The Guardian, I was reading on this same issue, the Guardian newspaper yesterday, had a headline indicating that the British government is being pressured to support the EU's blacklist. Last year, in 2015, about the third quarter, the EU published a list of countries on a blacklist, which it identified those countries as having tax regimes which are inimical to the interests of the EU.
These are tax havens.
Right. Britain did not support that move, and the Guardian is saying that you asked about the implication or the effect of this Guardian. Of course. So there's going to be
more pressure.
So the EU is now pressuring the government, the British government, to be more enthusiastic because Britain did not support the promulgation of this list because there is a formal process maintained by the OECD countries through an organization called the Global Forum, which acts as perhaps a global policeman in ensuring that countries adopt certain standards, which we can speak about a little bit more later. And Britain saw this as an attempt, and many jurisdictions saw this as an attempt to circumvent the work of that official organ of the OECD. But now, with this, the EU is using the opportunity to say to Britain, you must support our attempts to create this balance.
So, Eric, is there likely to be more pressure on Jamaica not to go the way of developing an international financial center? Will the major developed countries be looking more askance at financial centers offshore Financial Services Center. When you think about that before we come back from the break, we are talking about the implications of what has been called the Panama Papers, which have created an enormous buzz around the world in terms of the persons who are on this list. It's 11.5 million documents that the journalists have been going over in the last year, and which were released just this month. Leading tax expert Eric Crawford is talking to us about the implications of that in the context of Jamaica's attempts to develop an international financial center here. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
Tax Administration Jamaica is working to serve you even better. Have you used the upgraded electronic service RAISE 2? Through this online platform, you can check statement balances, start the application process for a taxpayer registration number, file income tax returns, and much more. No lines, no hassle. It's just a click away.
I like the system and it is very, very, very good.
I find it user-friendly.
Log on to jamaicatax.gov.jm or call 1-888-TAX-HELP for details. Use RAISE 2 and experience the upgrade.
Welcome back. The chairman of the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority and leading tax expert in Jamaica, Eric Crawford, is our guest. So yes, Eric, does this mean that Jamaica is in a more precarious position now that there's this focus? And why is Jamaica different, if at all?
I spoke about the organized monitoring and regulation of the industry globally. That has been put in place largely by the OECD through the work of the Global Forum that I mentioned earlier. Jamaica ranks very highly in the assessment of the Global Forum. In our latest ranking, we were ranked largely compliant. The most highly ranked countries are ranked fully compliant. We were ranked largely compliant because of maybe 3 deficiencies in our regime, which are being addressed very aggressively as we speak. Yeah, and we are hopeful that by the time 2017, when we get another assessment, we would have addressed those. There is an organized, it's not just a fly-by-night or a very subjective mechanism for determining which countries are compliant with the global standards. I mean, and we are living with and respectful of those global standards.
So how do we compare like to US, UK, these countries?
Ironically, we are ranked at the same level as the United States.
We're at the same level
as the US. The US was only, like we were, largely compliant in the last rankings. I believe in the Caribbean, Cayman Islands was the only other jurisdiction that was ranked largely compliant. I think most of our neighbors were ranked partially compliant. So we have invested a lot of effort and money in bringing up our rating and being seen as respectful of the international standards. So we comply with our FATCA requirements and the anti-money laundering requirements and so on. We are very aggressive about that. But it's important that I make the point that we don't see ourselves as creating a mechanism or a jurisdiction that facilitates tax evasion. And that's one of the major concerns of the Global Forum and the world, the OECD and the world community. And we are signing up. We have signed up so far for the exchange of information on demand. The standard has since moved to the global standard, to requiring jurisdictions to sign up to exchange of information automatically. Okay. And we are already complying with that because we have signed onto FATCA.
Yes.
And the two regimes, the Global Forum regime and the FATCA regime, go hand in hand. The Global Forum regime is just coming a little bit later than FATCA. We have signed our treaty with the United States already.
I see.
And so...
so the big countries wouldn't have any concerns major concerns about us?
Some countries will always have concern about any facility that allows their nationals to, let me say, optimize their tax liabilities. They will always have concerns about that. But there is an established standard, a set of established standards for judging jurisdictions as to whether they are conducting their affairs in a legitimate and an acceptable manner or not. And Jamaica is right up there with any jurisdiction, certainly in this part of the world. So yes, there are the countries who don't like what we're doing, but judging us, and we have had informal discussions with the agencies that matter, and they are appreciative of the efforts that we have made. So it's very important that we maintain
but
that.
Certainly, we have made the legislative moves that would prevent the kind of illegality which is being condemned in the Panama Papers.
And to address the concern of the larger countries, the OECD countries.
Yes.
I can probably give you a
point.
very good example of it, in that we changed our income tax legislation. I think it was in 2014, to allow our revenue to investigate the affairs of say, a business or an individual, even where they don't have what is called a tax interest.
Important.
Normally, you would only be investigated by your tax authority, by Jamaican tax authority, if Jamaica has a tax interest in you, if you should be paying tax in Jamaica. But one of the standards established is that your revenue must, in order to fulfill our international obligations, your revenue must be able to investigate anybody, whether they have a tax interest in you or not. Because we have signed on to exchanging information with a number of countries. We have 12 or 13 tax treaties. Over the years, we have been very aggressive about signing tax treaties which require us to exchange information with tax authorities of our treaty partners. And so the standard says, you can't exchange information with me if you don't have the right to get the information. And we changed our legislation in 2014, I think it was, to facilitate that. As I speak to you, one of the major concerns that has been revealed in this Panama Papers debacle is the right of people to have bearer shares, companies, to have companies holding bearer shares. So nobody can tell who is behind those companies.
Shell companies.
We are in the process. We have done all the work necessary to prevent, although that's not a mechanism that has been a major facility in Jamaica, but we are changing our law to prevent that ahead of many jurisdictions, many advanced jurisdictions, including OECD jurisdictions, which are not too far from us, who still facilitate bearer shares. And there's a global pressure on jurisdictions to prevent
Jamaica
that.
is ahead of those.
We are well advanced. We are not quite there yet. That is one of the concerns that I spoke about earlier. But we are well advanced. But I want to make the point, Ian, that the viability of what we are trying to do is not predicated on people avoiding tax. Yes, tax planning is important, and that's something that's very dear to my heart. And multinationals naturally pay a lot of interest in managing their global tax affairs, and we do want to be in that space. But our major value proposition is really the skills that we bring to the table. We have a very large cadre of very skilled professionals. We have over 1,200 accountants who are trained and are as qualified as accountants anywhere in the world. We have a lot of foreigners who are looking at Jamaica now for that reason. We have more lawyers than per capita than many jurisdictions across the world, highly trained. Not to mention our banking community. And these are the skills. Our corporate secretaries, I couldn't forget to mention them. We have a lot of those professionals and those skills in Jamaica, which are world class. Somebody paid that tribute to me that when he met me, he was surprised to learn that I had developed I got educated right here in Jamaica, and I never worked outside of Jamaica excepting for a short stint with the firm with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is responsible for where I am. So we have global standards among our professionals, unquestionably, and they excel when they leave Jamaica. And we have several thousand of them in Jamaica, and these are people who are very capable of providing the services to the international business community that are required and that are provided by competing jurisdictions right here in the Caribbean. Many of the people who run those industries in the Caribbean jurisdictions are Jamaicans. And they are saying to me, when are you going to get this thing in place so that we can come home and send our children to school in Jamaica? Several of them have said that to us. So that is our value proposition, our main value proposition. Of course, we are closest to the largest market in the world. We are an hour and a half from the largest market in the world. We have a first world telecommunications and internet capability. I just had some visitors from England and they say that our internet is superior to what they are experiencing in London. And they were very surprised because they hadn't been to Jamaica for a very long time. So we have all of those attributes. We are accustomed to hosting people.
Yes.
You know, and so I'm very gung-ho about the business prospects and just the viability in terms of our assets.
So we have the foundation for growth and prosperity.
Yes. And you only have to look at the business processing industry to see how successful we have been at that.
Yes.
It's very similar. Last time I looked, we had $40 million US invested in that industry. We have global companies citing their operations in Jamaica.
We have to bring you back because you have a lot of information. He is a leading tax expert in Jamaica, Eric Crawford, chairman of the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority, telling us why we have put ourselves in a position not to be associated with any of the scandals which are attached to the release of what has been called the Panama Papers. Stay tuned to us here on Issues and Answers. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Boyne wishing you a pleasant day.